And welcome. Yeah, it's me. Me? Yes. And tonight we're going to be basically finishing off the orcs. The last orc in this little raiding party is being sculpted tonight. It's going to be another sergeant. This time, for the spearmen. They need a sergeant. Like the previous ones, he's going to be a little bit bigger than the average trooper. Not quite as big as the big boss, though. And just to show you, I have actually painted one of the shieldmen. Hey, go ahead and zoom in close. The one thing I discovered is that that's too. There we go. Is that dry brushing metals tends to exaggerate layer lines. This camera doesn't really grab it as easily, but yeah, this is a basic. I forgot to get the right up in here, the trim on that side of the belt buckle. Let me turn it this way. You can see it right there. No, right here. I missed that little line. Oh well. Yeah, trying to do this mirror image inverse thing, yeah, that's kind of difficult. But I am here and I am ready. Now, like I said, tonight we're going to be doing the last orc for a long time. Because once these orcs are done, I'm going to go back to making player characters. This time, it won't be player characters from my current campaign, because they all have their figures. Instead, it will be new characters. It will be new just from wherever. Like Sunday night, I'm going to be doing a grumpy ranger. Yeah, the kind of ranger they don't let get near any flammable things anymore. And it wasn't his fault, honest. Anyway, so what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and we're going to skip over. No, we don't want ZBrush, we want Dav Studio. Oh, wait. Yeah, we do. Yeah, this is where we want to start. You see, I had this idea. The sergeant for the spearmen, he's a bit older than the others. And, in fact, he's going to have a peg leg over here, and his right eye is going to have a bolted on eye patch, like they hammered it in with nails. And he's going to be kind of piratey and stuff. So what we're going to do, first things first, he's going to get his spear in his left hand. That was the Orky spear. Where did I put it? There it is. Orky spear, left hand. Okay, and then we're going to turn him into an orc. Going to select that jaw. We're then going to load in the orc tusks and parent them to the jaw. Then, to make sure that we're getting the size right, we're going to import one of the previous sergeants, which is under Broadcast Miniatures Old. Let's see, that'll be where is he? Orc Sergeant. Where did I put him? There's the big orc boss. There's that. Oh, I know why. Because he wasn't one of the broadcast ones. Oops. So, see, yeah, here he is, Orc Sergeant. And then we're going to move him back just a little. And we're going to the front view, because the front view is not parametric. It's not a perspective. It's flat. And then we're going to take him and we're going to go down to where it says Orc Boss, and we're going to start dragging it up slightly until he's about the same size there. And there we have our Orc Boss, or our Orc Sergeant. Actually, it looks like he might, yeah, he's going to end up being about the same size. Poses and all will change things. So we select him and delete him. Alright, now, another thing that this guy's going to have, he's actually not going to have the usual tunic or mail thing. Instead, he's going to have a long coat. Going to go to parameters, and we're going to now edit object or figure geometry, add a push modifier. I want it to be a little bit thicker. Yeah, that's too much because it's softening the we're going to use, he's going to have a long coat. Now we're going to file, expand from selected. We're going to then hide the abdomen. We're going to take the right thigh, we're going to make it go side to side and twist out a bit. No, that didn't work. We'll just move it with the move topological brush and ZBrush. Alright, now his pose. He's going to be standing holding a spear like his buddies, but it's going to be so we're going to grab these legs and we're going to move them in side to side a bit. We're also going to tilt the hips that way just a little bit. Once again, we don't want our hips to be perfectly parallel to each other. To the shoulders or to the ground. So we're going to bend in. Alright, now we're gonna go to front view, and we're going to make sure that we have our feetsies prepared. We're going to bend it down, and we're going to bend the toe up. And what we're trying to do basically is we're trying to make these feet as even as possible, because when the time comes to and then I hit drop, Control D. And when we go back to perspective, we see he's kind of leaning forward. Well, his abdomen is going to stay where it is. Just a little bit of bending back, a little bit of twist, a little bit of side to side, not a lot. We're going to put most of it in the chest. We're going to bend back. We're going to go side to side this way and twist a little bit back. Because he's but most of this motion is actually going to be not chest, but the collar coming forward. So we're going to grab this collar, and we're going to side to side it forward and down, and we're going to twist it. Okay. And we're going to bend arm, twist, bend the hand, and then we're going to select both finger portions and we're going to bend them until they become a fist. And we have, yeah, most of his pose is done. Now we just got to do this. We're going to and bend this up, twist, grab the hand and side to side. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select the spear and we're going to use the actual gizmo to slide him down, and then we're going to move it into better position in the hand because it's not in a good spot, because when you morph it, the props don't move like they should, but that's just a minor thing. And then we're going to go to the front view, and we're going to make it go a little bit lower down because this is going to fuse into the base. Now we've got the head to make, or not make, but the head to make an expression for. We're going to do something similar to what we did last night with the orc shaman, and we're going to open his mouth a bit. Open. We're gonna Z-rotate. For a bit of a snarl. Oh! That's not a bit of a snarl, that's a bit of a mutation. -11. There we go. And this is what we have as our basic. And I'm thinking let's go ahead and swap out. It's going to be the left leg that's going to be, no, it's going to be the right leg. It's a peg leg. So what we're going to do to further that, the right eye stays where it is. The left eye is going to come out as a bit, oh, that's a bit too much. Yeah. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hide his left toe and foot. Why? Because we're going to use 3D Studio Max on the body to drag down into a peg leg shape. So now we're going to hide the tusks, we're going to hide the spear, we're going to hide the long coat. And we're going to File, Export, Spear Sarge Bod. Okay. Now, I see there's at least one other person in here with me. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and switch over to 3D Studio Max. I'm going to import, if it'll, we go to there, meshes, free sculpt minis, broadcast, new. And we're going to load in the sergeant as a single mesh. Okay, now, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to select that. Going to that and grow. We're going to select that and we're going to collapse it. And then grab this, drag it up. Oh, wrong one. We need to grab this, that vertex, and we see from the side it's it's sticking out a little bit more. Now we're going to grow, and it's now selected all of those. We're going to drag it down, and we're going to make it Y high of 0%. And a Z height of 0, so it's on the deck. Actually, we need to bring it up just a little bit, and we're going to shrink it. We are then going to select these two rows, loop, deselect. We're going to select these, and we're going to connect a few times. And then finally we're going to select this last outer loop. We're going to chamfer it really tightly. 0.01. Okay. Zoom out, and you can already see he's going to have the basic peg leg shape. So now we're going to go ahead and file, export selected into OBJ format. Yes, OBJ. It's easiest to deal with in ZBrush for some reason. We're going to our free sculpt mini, broadcast minis, new, and we're going to replace that spear sarge bod with it. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and pop back to Dev Studio. And what we're going to do is we're going to hide the body. And we're going to import the Spear Sarge body. Now, one small problem is that Dev Studio and 3D Studio Max disagree on how to handle an opaque item. Anyway, now we're going to make the long coat visible. Actually, no, let's just go ahead. Make the long coat visible by itself. File, export, Spear Sarge coat, accept. Make it invisible, and then make the spear and the tusks visible and export them. Spear Sarge props. Accept. Now, the next thing to do is we go to ZBrush. Time to start sculpting. Okay, it is 15 minutes into the broadcast and we are done with posing and ready to start sculpting. So the first thing we got to do is we got to import the body. While we have it here, let's shrink the intensity and the smoothing, and well, I'm also let's do the smoothing and smooth out. Oh, no, we need to have it higher than that. And I've still got to get around to fixing these two little dimples in the belly. But this is our orc. And again, while I'm thinking about it, we're going to smooth in or erase in the mouth. Okay. Hit frame. Now we're going to go back to our subtool. We're going to append the coat. And then next we're going to append the props. You can see here that it's pretty low polygon. Well, that's part of what we're here to fix. So now we go to move topological. Make it bigger and make it bigger. And we're going to grab this corner down here. And pull it out. I'm going to grab this corner and pull it out. And then we're going to grab part of it, come out this way, part of it, and come out this way, part of it, come out this way. And then just because people always joke about the orky butts, pull the orky butts out completely covered. And pull out this completely covered. Yeah, that's good enough. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to subdivide them both a couple times after we shrink down to a more standard brush size. And we're going to do this until it looks smooth from this perspective, which is usually about to here. And we're going to select the body of the guy. We're going to do the same thing. Divide, divide, divide. And delete lower. But now we're going to blend them together. So I'm going to take him. Actually, no, let's hold off on blending that together. We're going to do a little bit of work on the face before we do. No, we got to wait till we got him subdivided. Yeah, that's right. Alright, so slight change of plans. We're going to merge down, and then now that we've got it in one object, we're going to dynamesh it at 768 resolution. And a blur of 0. Dynamesh! Bing! And it drops to 940,000 triangles. Alright, so one thing we got to do is we got to kind of smooth out back in here, because it was getting kind of awkward looking. Now we're going to go in and we're going to smooth out this back area of the mouth, because again it's also getting awkward. And the top. Now we're going to zoom out. We're going to blend in certain areas around here where the jacket is meeting the arm. Now, like I said, this is a little different from the other orcs. He's a little bit psycho, I guess. He's a pirate, or thinks he is. Maybe he killed a pirate in a raid sometime and decided that he really liked the guy's coat. I mean, really liked the guy's coat. And he kept it. And he thinks it's special or lucky or something. You know, whatever kind of flavor you can give it, it can make a character, it can make a miniature go from being just, you know, it's just an orc with a spear, to being, he's a bit of a psycho and he's hilarious. You know, I mean, when all's said and done, Ghazghkull Thraka from Warhammer 40k is just another orc warlord. Yes, he had a really successful history, But from the point of view of someone who's not a huge fan of the fluff, he's just another big old orc. However, he looks different. It's more than just him having that big old claw. His style is slightly different from all those other orc knobs and mega armor. You know, he's huge, yes, but he's got flavor. And now, it's time for this. Now, one thing we're going to do, we're going to zoom in, and we're going to make a belt. We're only going to need it on the front of the pants. So, we're going to and it's kind of sloping down to one side because he's wearing it like he saw the pirate wear his belt. And then we're going to come in here and deal with the fact that I've got a cat that's being a bit annoying. Okay, then we're going to zoom in and we're going to erase You know, there's actually people next door who are getting rid of their No! Get off the tablet, Fuzz Bucket! Furball? No. Anyway, there's still people who are getting rid of fireworks from last night, is what I was trying to say. I don't like kicking him off my lap like that. If he comes back and does it again, I'm going to have to basically close the door, which I don't want to do because that would leave all of them out there and yeah. Anyway, that's our belt. And we're going to also go ahead and put on the cuffs for our collar, for our sleeves. That's too big. This is going to be like the cuffs at the end of one of those big old piratey jackets. You see, unlike the sleeves of the robes that the shaman was wearing last night, this jacket has these cuffs, which means they can stay up near the hand a bit more. It also isn't this huge hooplon cone. And we're going to have to cut some of that and bring it down here. Okay. So now we're going to extract at 0.03. Extract, accept. I'm going to slant down. Come here, slant down. Come back to these, and we're going to dynamesh them at 256. And then we're going to subdivide it. With it set on move topological, we're going back to the body. We're going to drag this out just a little bit more. Then we're going to the belt, and we're going to drag this in 2. So that's intersecting. Because when it's intersecting, then when it comes time to fuse it all together, it'll fuse well. Okay, go back to there, make it bigger. We're going to bring this lid in just a bit. Yeah. Now, last night's shaman had a belt buckle that was basically a skull. It won't work for this guy. We need to give him a piratey belt buckle, which means one of those old classic square, big old chunks of metal. So we're going to draw on here, here, and then we're going to hide the body, and we're going to draw on up here. No, we're not. We're not going to get... I'm going to have to go back in. Fuzzball. No, I know what I need to do. This is too low of a poly count. Okay. I'm going to shrink this just a little bit. And zoom in, draw first one and then the other, and then we're going to shrink this down so I can trim off this bottom part right here. Just trim this. We're going to frame out. And we're going to extract it to be our belt buckle. And now we're going to go back to the belt and undo anything. Now we dynamesh this, and we're going to use inflate to bring it forward a bit, right here. And we're going to use move topological with a bit of a focal shift to try to straighten out the insides of this buckle, make it more angular. Okay, frame out. Yeah, that's a nice buckle. Now the next thing we're going to do, going back to these cuffs, we're going to add that little separation in the cuffs that we had. Actually, no, let's go ahead and leave it. Let's get rid of the focal shift and make it bigger. Because one thing is the cuffs tended to be a little bit bigger on the side that faced the arm. And yeah, now we're going back behind it, which means we gotta bring it all down here. See, when you use a tool of any kind, ZBrush moves the center of rotation to there. So for example, now when I rotate, it's rotating around that spot where the wrist was. Now, good. That's close enough. That's enough for it to register as being bell-shaped. Now, I'm going to take slash brush. I'm going to make it smaller, but I'm going to make sure it goes in deep. I've got to go to stroke and turn off lazy mouse. And I'm going to cut in here. Then turn it to add, back down to 10, and we're going to move topological once again. Let's smooth this out a bit. And that's the bottom of his cuff on that side. Now we're going back to slash. And we're going to put the cuff over here once again. Now, I will admit that by putting it on the bottom of the arm, I am cheating just a little bit, because this will make it easier to it will make it easier to print. Yes. Okay. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of decoration to these collars by using inflate, using a much smaller brush, and using a rather high intensity. No, not intense enough. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off. Whoa! What the heck? Okay, let's go back. It looks like I may have gone too far with the slashing. I did not notice it because I was too heavy duty working. Let's go to 18 on the slash. Did y'all catch that? 'Cause I didn't. Oh, wow! Alright, so let's make sure we got this all good. And now 1, 2, 3. And we're going to start from here. We're going to go down. Yeah, this is actually behaving more like I was originally expecting it. And now we're going to add 10, and we're going to go from here, sharp, sharp back. Okay, much better. And now here, we're going to sweep. Okay. Now, let's go back to inflate and shrink it down, and we're going to get started adding some trim to these colors. A lot of that we're going to actually smooth out when it comes time to do another Dynamesh on the sleeves. And then we're gonna I am so glad my mother understands that some things are just total scams. One of those, and if you order right now, we'll double your free gift. She was like, yeah, right. Everyone's going to be the first 500 callers. The first 500 callers every second is how they managed to get that one. Okay, I don't like how that came out, so it's just undo until we get rid of yeah, let's just go ahead and add buttons. Buttons! Add buttons on either side of each part of this. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to make the collar. No, forget that. Let's make that, just to get it out of the way. Let's make it the eye patch. So to make it the eye patch, one of the first things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to blend out that eye. So I'm going to leave the mouse about this size, yeah, I hit shift and I've got smooth full. I'm going to use the mouse and not the stylus, because the mouse is always 100%. The stylus is only 100% if you are pushing full strength. Let's go ahead and go to standard, and let's turn off lazy mouse, turn intensity down about 8, yeah. And we're gonna come across. I'm gonna hit, and then we're gonna smooth it some more. That's where this patch is going to be. So next we come up with is we shrink the mouse back down and we mask off where our patch will be. And let's be and let's unmask here. And then we're going to extract at 0.02, accept. Scroll down, select the big guy, unmask that, and then we select his eye patch again. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to Dynamesh it at 256. Then we're going to subdivide it a couple times, and we're going to use inflate. We're going to add a couple nails. And there we got it. His eye patch. Okay. Now, next thing we got to do, since we're going to go ahead and take care of this, is we're going to smooth out the back of that leg. Okay. And then they're going to take the move topological, make it a little bit bigger, and basically I'm just going to make it some irregularities that would happen with a crudely sculpted orc, or crudely carved orc peg leg. Then I'm going to shrink it, and I'm going to just draw on the socket. The socket is going to be like the collar of a boot, except I don't need to worry about blending it. This is the socket for the big old wooden leg for our piratey sergeant. Okay. Now, we're going, actually let's go ahead and go over here, go down a little bit, and come back around. I'm going to shrink that a bit. There we go. And now I'm going to extract that at 0.4. And we go back to Big Boss. Let's undo it. Unmask. And going to this guy, frame, zoom out. Going to geometry. Dynamic 250. No, this dynamic 128 because it's going to be somewhat. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of smooth around. Yeah, let's smooth around the top a little. Just a little light, just to make it more emphasis that this is part of that. Okay, and then we're going to go back up to there. We're going to delete lower, and we're going to go ahead and once again polish this outer edge here. And we have our peg leg basic. But what we're going to do first, we got to go to back to our big guy, and we got to go to slash, and we're going to basically draw on a bit of a wood grain look. Okay. Oh, it's got to be slash in. Now, just drawing in the slashes won't be enough, because wood isn't shaped like doughy slashes. Instead, we go to add and we shrink it back down and we shrink the mouse down. And we're going to sharpen the outside edges. That's not enough. We sharpen the outside edges of these slashes. And then bring it here. Right now, this is mostly because wood doesn't really shape like this. Wood grain is so fine that it's visible, but not, it won't affect the silhouette. This is for painting purposes. This is wood grain for painting. You'll probably have seen something like this on a lot of other things that you mess with or painted or possibly even printed, where they've got a kind of a World of Warcraft look to the wood. Yes, I did make that reference. And that's because it looks more interesting. And then we're going to come back there. That is going to be another bit. It's going to be a knot. Not as in that is not wood, but as in the knot on wood. We're gonna knot on wood. Okay, and we're coming in and around. We go round, 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 round. Give me a run around. And I'm sure most of you watching are too young to remember that. That was a song by Van Hagar. And if you're too young to make that reference, there's a band called Van Halen that for a while dropped their lead singer, David Lee Roth, and picked up lead singer Sammy Hagar. And he did that song, Runaround, as one of the songs that they did. They were still a good band, they were just a totally different kind of band, which means that the people who were fans of the David Lee Roth era were totally irritated and hated it, and he ruined the band! And then we're going to draw a little curly Q here. And one down here. And that is our wooden peg leg. Get some soda real quick. And now that we've gotten the peg leg, we need to add in the cuff for the right boot, which is going to be just like before, but with the opposite part brought closer to the leg. We're also going to need to be careful oh boy. Okay, yeah, I see what I'm going to have to do here. Alright. First, I got to move the leg up towards as close to vertical as possible. Yeah. Okay, now let's erase and shrink this. The problem here is that I got to get really, really close, and it's going to end up at the end of the whole brouhaha here, as long as I stop hiccuping, it's going to end up fusing anyway, but I don't want to cause too much of a weirdness in the geometry. So I've got to make sure it's only the leg that is captured for this. If I don't, it could look really weird for at least a little while. Okay, there we go. Zoom out and assume a peg leg position. This is only going to be 0.03 though. Extract, accept. Unmask, and unmask. And now we go to this collar, or not collar, this cuff. Zoom in. Pull out. Geometry, Dynamesh, divide, lower. And make it bigger. And then we go to move topological, and we're going to grab the front of this and kind of pull it out and forward. That's not big enough. And just a little bit out this way and a little bit out this way. And that's the bottom, that's the top cuff of that boot. He's really looking pretty piratey now. And pardon me while I stretch out my old man bones. Now I think we can go ahead and make the collar, the collars. So we're going to go to him. Let's turn off everything else just so we can see exactly what's happening here, because that's weird. Oh, we gotta be on him. Nope. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's what we need to do. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use this. We're going to mask off an area. That's going to be the collar. Or at least the outer collar. We're going to come up this way and then down here, and then it's going to come around. What this does, this gives us a nice little... Oh. Yeah. Okay, we're going to start here. It's coming around from one wide, and it's going to come down and up. And then we're going to zoom up here. We're going to erase that. And then we're going to make it sharp. Then it's coming back around from one wide. It's going to come down to here and up. And then like that. Slice this down a bit, and then... Now that I'm looking at it, the only thing that is possibly running through my head right at this point in time is the sign where... Oh, come on, don't do that to me. There we go. is that scene where Captain Jack Sparrow is told, "I do believe you're the worst pirate I have ever seen." And then cut it here, cut it here. And then we clean up this part of the mask here. And yeah, that's good enough. Frame. We're going to extract this one at 0.3. And we're going to use move topological because we need to move this down just a bit. Let's do the same. Okay. Now we're going back. We're going to dynamesh it because it needs to be dynameshed just once. Swing. Divide, divide. That's good enough. No, it needs one more. Delete lower. Okay, now we're going back to our buddy, and this time we're going to be doing it, extracting at 0.2 because we're going to be doing a slightly different version. Okay. Okay, then we're going to basically make our going to make that. And then we're going to kind of trim up a little bit just so that we can make that sharp. And once again, we're going to pull this in. Okay, and then we're going to select here, go out to there. And we're going to turn that on, and we're going to extract. Oh, yeah. So we turn that off. We're going to need to come across a little bit lower. That way. Yeah, there we go. And this is going to be extracted at 0.02. Extract. Accept. Draw. Draw. And we're going to geometry, and we're going to dynamesh. Divide, divide, divide. And delete lower. Okay. Now that we've done that, and we've got our colors, we're going to add in a couple more things. Namely, we're going to use slash, pretty intense slash, to add in where the buttonholes would be. on this alternate color. Oh, I see an error. We got to use move topological real quick. I got to grab here and move it out a bit. Okay. Okay, go back to slash. Too big. Okay. And then we're going to use inflate to make the buttons. And we're going to go up to the top collars and we're going to do the same thing. The button here and use slash and make the button whole. Now, the next thing we got to do, well, let's put on all the extra bits. This is what we got so far, without the snakes. Yeah, this is what we got so far. Not too bad looking so far. Not great, because those shoulders are needing some help. So we're going to hide all the extra body parts and have him selected only. Now, at this point we need a standard brush, and we need to make it big. Not too big though. And not that strong. What we're going to be doing is we're going to basically fill up this area here and do the same over here. It's not needed as much over here. And we're going to do something similar right about there. Because what we're going to do is we're going to make this the seam of where the sleeve meets the chest. Now once again, we're going to shrink the mouse when we do most of our smoothing, because the fewer polygons underneath the mouse when you smooth, the faster it does the calculations, and therefore the more it smooths. Now let's make sure that this, yeah, okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to slash, we're going to add about 9, and we're going to make it kind of big. Because what we're going to do is we're going to draw on, no. Now, slash in some ways is the opposite of smoothing, in that the larger the area it covers, the more intense the effect. And what that's doing, that's giving us more of a jacket look. We're going to go back over that with inflate just to make it a bit more of the shoulder Okay. So now we're going over to inflate. We're going to make it smaller. Yes. And we're going to focal shift it down. That's way too big. And smooth. And that shoulder's looking decent. We're going to come over here. And that shoulder's looking decent. Yep. We zoom out, and it looks more like he's wearing a coat now. Because it's got those collars. Those shoulders, rather. Now, we've still got things to do. It's very obvious he's wearing no shirt underneath this jacket. At least that's my personal vision on him. When I print and go to paint him, that's what I'm going to do, is he's wearing no shirt. But we still need to give wrinkles to the jacket. So we're going to make the collars visible. And then we're going to go to standard. Now, one of the things you're going to... Actually, I'm going to try a slightly different... I'm just going to use slash. I'm going to shrink it down. Increase the intensity just a little bit. An 8 and V sub 10. Yeah. I'm going to start off. Well, first of all, I'm going to start off by using the sub and small, and I'm going to draw in the seam at the sleeve. And the end result will give it, give us that whole sleeve look even more. I'll say this, I've said it many times in other models. A lot of the details that I put into these figures, especially on the hands, and in this case this seam, may not be that visible when you print it on an FDM printer. However, it will contribute to the shape and therefore to the overall impression of the even being there. It may not be able to be seen under normal circumstances, but it would certainly be noticed if it wasn't there at all. Okay, we had to get those. Now, we go to add, and we're going to lightly draw on a couple of wrinkles. And we're going to smooth them out just a little. Then we're going to go to subtract, and we're going to go under those wrinkles. And I think I need to make them bigger and just a little bit stronger. just because that was a little too small, but it can be forgiven on that part of the jacket. And then see, the thing to remember is that wrinkles are, in fact, affected by gravity. They may not be perfectly so, but they are still affected. And now... a little bit of smoothing. Alright, now one little trick, by the way, that I didn't find out until far too late is that if you hit Alt, it'll swap for the duration of that key press only between in and out. And now, this allows me to swap back and forth while doing this without having to go up and swap it on the main little control thingy up here. Okay. Yeah, this must have been a pretty big privateer. Because this orc is wearing his coat like it's nobody's business. It's nice and wrinkly. Smooth it out a little. Smooth this out a little. And those sleeves are nice and wrinkly there, wouldn't you say? Arr, matey. So we're going to zoom out, make the mouse bigger, and we're going to do a few other. I'm going to hide those just because. Alright, so first we're going to come down. Oh, wrong button. We're going to come down this way. And we're going to slice underneath these wrinkles. And then we're going to smooth them out. Okay. Okay. That's all we need for the front, so we can bring these back on. Now, from here, first, we need a couple coming this way. Okay, and let's bring it this way. Okay. Let's make the cuffs visible just in case. The cuffs and belt. Yeah. That's looking really piratey. Okay, now we're gonna hang this down here. And then smooth them just to clean them up a bit. Sorry if I got silent there. I tend to do that when I'm concentrating. And it's right there. I think we're pretty much done with the clothing. The next step is the hands. And before I do that, I'm going to stretch my left leg out again. Oh, I stepped on a can that was down there. That's not the cool. That's not the very cool at all. Oh. Okay. Next step is the hand. So one thing we need to do is we need to close in the inside of the fist. So we go to inflate. We're going to shrink. We're going to get rid of the focal shift. We don't need the focal shift anymore, but we are going to shrink it. And we're going to inflate the insides of the fingers. And close in, at least on this side. It looks all messy and all get out, but once we dynamesh it, it will be fine. Just enough to leave a little tiny gap there. And then just a similar over here. Smooth that. That's going to blend in. Alright. We're mostly done. That's all we need to really do with that until we get to the thumb. You inflate the underside of the thumb. Okay. Now, next step is marking the knuckles. We need to make sure that our mouse is about the size of the fingers. That's too wide, so we hit the buttons to shrink it. Now, we draw in our knuckles, remembering that the middle finger's a little bit longer, the ring and index are about the same, and the pinky's a little shorter, and then we draw on the tendons. Again, this is something that probably won't be seen on an FDM, but it's something that contributes to the shape and the mass of the hand, and it gets the form language right on it. You know, you got this look to it. It's there, even if a lot of people in the real world, you can't see those little tendons, but they contribute to the shape, and we see them so often in things like comic books and that we become used to it. Now the next step is to go ahead and determine where they are on the index, because we can see it from one edge. Okay, and then use that as a guide for the next one in the mid, then the ring, and the pinky. And now that one's there. This one's probably here. This one's roughly even. This one's here. And then we smooth in the spaces between the knuckles, because that helps us straighten out the bones of the fingers. Now you notice I got a little short here. Oh well. I'd rather have a mistake like this than have forgotten to do it, because it's one of those things that once you notice that it's not there, that the hand is a bent mitten made of Vienna sausages, it's something you will never unsee. I will confess I have screwed up that way myself. Okay. Then we're going to 1, 2, 3, draw on the knuckle at the base here, and then smooth it, while also doing a little bit of that tendon. Now, I will warn you, I am hearing thunder. There is a chance I might lose connection here. If I do, I promise I will get back as soon as I can. That's that hand. Now it's time for this hand. And we gotta shrink the... I may have made the mouse a little bit too small for that one. But anyway, for the back of the hand, we start off over here. Let me move it so that you can see it. Here. A bit further up. Back even with the index, and then back down here. Then looking at this, we see that it would be about here for the next index, and there for the one after. Let me get down here. Here for the one after. And then I'm going to do the little staggered bit here. Okay, apparently we're having a lightning danger and heavy rain, but no heavy wind. I'm hearing a lot of booms. Then I'm going to draw on the tendons. Smooth out the bottom. One, two, three. Okay, and then just a little bit right here. Okay, and that's the hands. Oh, no, it's not. I forgot. I need to use slash, 1, 2, 3, 4, and slash in between the fingers just to make sure that they dig deeper. No, it didn't go deep enough. Okay. Because when I go back to re-topologize again, yeah, there we go, that's nice. Now, I've been on for about an hour and a half. I hope to be on for about another half hour more at the most. By that point, the rain will probably be gone, because that's how things are here. Alright, let's go over to the fist. And we're going to draw in here. Cut in between these fingers. Cut from here. And we're going to cut here. Coming around. We're going to cut here. And so that we don't get them all mixed up here. Okay, now the last thing left is the head. And you can't do the head without the tusks. Now one thing we're going to do is I am not, it's going to sound odd, I am not going to do upper teeth on this guy. I am going to do lower teeth. Oh, apparently I need to give the lower okay, let's go for him. First things first, we go back to inflate, and we're going to draw in gums. And then I'm going to use move topological, grab and drag up some teeth. Once again, these may not show exactly as teeth on an FDM print, but they will give the impression that there's something there and make it more understandable. We're also going to use slash, and we're going to exaggerate the border around that other eye. And in fact, let's make him a complete and utter lunatic. Let's make this eye huge. Let's make this eye huge. Now we're going to use inflate. We're going to make his nostrils just a little bit larger. He's got flaring nose, a little bit bigger nose than most of his troops and his boss. We're going to smooth that in just a little. And we're going to use our slash again. Going to draw in between and give him a little bit of a wrinkly head, just enough to give him an impression. We're going to dig deep, some nice jagged grooves in the upper lip that we're going to smooth because they're just there for impression and to maintain coherence with the rest of them. Okay. I'm thinking he's looking pretty good. We can put the tablet up. And now, I'm going to zoom out. Let's move them just a little bit down. We're going to merge down all of these. Ah. There we go. Now, time to add in the, actually, I think that went a little large on the eyeball. Go, Hugh. Shoot. Hugh. Go on. Yeah, the eyeball is a little wonky. So all we got to do is go back to move topological. Make this just a little bit bigger and bring his eye back down just a bit. There. That's big enough to be wonky, but not so big that it's just ridiculous. Now what we're going to do, we're going to append another subtool. This subtool is going to be the base. Frame. And now it's time to put this in. First, divide it a couple times, and then we're going to move it by the deformation tabs because we really want to change where this is. Oh, wrong way. That's good enough. Or is it? Yeah, negative 0.25. Negative 0.25. That's about as best as we can get. Now we need to offset it by X. And then now that that's done, we need to offset it by Z. Let's give it a fake perspective. Yeah. And then it's not going to need a lot of Z, just a little bit, because you tend to want to have your bases a little forward. There we go. Especially when the figure is leaning forward like this. And let's go ahead and offset X by -1. Or -1. Yeah, there we go. That's good enough. And this let's go ahead and merge down once again. And now we have our Spearman Sergeant, who's a bit of a loopy, piratey guy with a steel eye patch and a wooden peg leg and a jacket. So what we do now is we go back to geometry. We dynamesh at 1024, and let's see how many we get out of 1.99 million polys. When we dynamesh it, it becomes 2.77. That's not good. You never want it to end up with more polys when you're refining it for a final result. So let's try 768. At that time I ended up with roughly similar count total, which is 1.553 million. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and it's time to decimate. We're going to try to reduce it to 70,000 polygons as usual. That seems to be the optimum from what I can determine for poly count for a miniature to be printed, because it's high enough to let us get some pretty decent detail. I mean, come on. You know, we actually got a decent chainmail detail on this guy. And it's high enough to give us a basic, nice detail, but it's also low enough that it's not going to be too much of a problem for people's slicers. So, we're slicing the spear sergeant now. Not slicing, we're decimating. It's starting from 1.57 million polygons, and once it's done, it should be around 70,000. Yep, 70,021. I wonder where those 21 polygons are. But that is our sergeant. So now the next step is to go ahead and we're going to export him. Go back into Broadcast Miniatures, new Orc Spear Sarge figure. And there he goes. So we bring it back to our basic camera here. And I realize that, it's probably been boring. I mean, there's only 3 people watching right now, which is me and 2 other people that I have no idea who. But that is basically what I do. That was the last of the orcs for the orc horde. And 11 figures is a horde. 2 archers, 2 bowmen, 2 sword and shield, a sergeant for each, a big boss, a shaman. That's a pretty good spread of just ordinary orcs. And now, I'd like to say, I've mentioned this in one of the previous ones, most of my design cues I'm taking from an artist named Paul Bonner. He was really big in the 70s for just general concept art and things. He was of a similar style in terms of the look to Brian Frode. If you don't know who Brian Frode is, go watch Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, and then that's all you really need to know to understand Brian Frode. He did the creature design for these. He didn't make the Muppets, but he designed the creatures, the looks of the goblins, the fey folk, the monsters. He used mostly watercolor, occasionally colored pencil from what I understand, but it was really stylized. A lot of what he did was ugly cute, with a lot of pointed, extruded snout-like faces, long pointed ears, long, slender, bony fingers with huge knuckles. And like I said, Frode and his contemporary Bonner did a lot of the inspiration for my orcs. As an example of what Bonner's orcs looked like, this is an older orc figure. Let me see if I can... Where is it? Oi, where is it? Let me go ahead and check in storage. Yes, I'm looking for a picture from who knows what. Reference pictures. Orc. Yeah, here we go. This is a Bonner orc. Whoop. You can see a lot of the influences there. The small, really high up, wide nose. The big brow. The high, sharp cheekbones. The large, protruding jaw with tusks. And the pointed ears that are almost folded over rather than human ears with a Vulcan point. That is a Bonner orc. And now that I'm done with my orcs for a while, starting Sunday we'll be going back to player character types. And we'll be starting with a ranger. A grumpy ranger. That you don't want to be anywhere near anything that goes boo. Alright, I'd like to thank you for coming. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, like, subscribe, blah, 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 all that nonsense. The whole bit right down there. Otherwise, I'm going to be holding my hand up right here. And as I do, the minute I can see my hand count from 5 to 1, I'm going to be logging out. And that'll be it for tonight's show. So let's do a lag test by... Yeah, okay. So that's going to be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.